This short video is an introduction to thermal printing basics. What exactly is thermal printing? Thermal printing technology uses heated print heads that apply heat either directly to a heat-sensitive media or to a heat-sensitive ribbon. There are two different thermal printing methods, direct thermal and thermal transfer. Zebra printers all use thermal printing technology, which is either direct thermal or thermal transfer. With direct thermal printers, heat from the printhead activates a heat-sensitive coating on the direct thermal paper. Because heat is what activates the image, other heat sources will also affect the coating and can cause fading of the image or discoloration of the printed output. Generally speaking, direct thermal produces output with a shorter lifespan. With direct thermal, no ribbon is required, only the heat-sensitive paper or labels. With thermal transfer printers, the printhead heats a heat-sensitive ribbon, which then transfers onto the paper. Thermal transfer tends to produce longer image life, but it's more complex and requires two supplies items: media, like paper or labels, and a ribbon. It's also important that the correct combination of media and ribbon are used together to ensure image durability. To help visualize the difference in printing technologies, here's a short animation. For direct thermal, note how the heat is applied directly to the heat-sensitive paper to create the image. Now, in looking at thermal transfer, you will see how the heat is applied directly to the thermal transfer ribbon, which then transfers the image onto the paper. Another difference between the two printing technologies can be in the form factor of the printer itself. You will notice in the example shown, the ZD620 desktop printer, that there are two models, a direct thermal model and a thermal transfer model. The direct thermal model is on the left, and the thermal transfer model is on the right. You will notice that the form factor of the thermal transfer model is slightly larger and looks a bit different. This is because the top of the case is larger to allow space for the thermal transfer ribbon. This form factor difference mainly applies to our desktop line, and it's something that should be considered when printer size is a potential issue. Keep in mind that all Zebra printers can run in direct thermal mode when no ribbon is present. So, purchasing a thermal transfer printer will allow you to print using both methods. By contrast, direct thermal models cannot be used for thermal transfer printing. Direct thermal printing utilizes heat-sensitive paper that blackens as it passes under the printhead. Direct thermal printers are noted for their simplicity because they do not need a ribbon to print. Direct thermal printed paper or labels typically have a considerable shelf life, but are not well suited for environments that expose them to heat, long periods of direct sunlight, or abrasion. Direct thermal labels also typically do not have the same lifespan of items printed using thermal transfer. Keeping the shorter lifespan of direct thermal output in mind, let's take a look at some common use cases by vertical for direct thermal printing. In most verticals, direct thermal printing is good for high-volume printing of items with shorter lifespan requirements. For example, fast food receipts, tags for clothing, work-in-process tags, shipping labels that are no longer needed once the package gets to its destination, parking passes that expire after a certain time period, and so on. This chart gives a good overview of use cases by vertical market. If needed, pause this video to review the list in detail, then press play to continue. Thermal transfer delivers crisp, high-definition text, graphic, and barcode print quality for maximum readability and scannability. It produces items with longer lifespans because the ribbon produces more durable images. Because of the thermal transfer technology, the printhead generally will last 3 times longer than in a direct thermal application. Thermal transfer output is also more durable. Due to the wide variety of materials and ribbons available, thermal transfer is perfect for demanding applications. There are thermal transfer media solutions that can withstand abrasions, extreme temperatures, weak to extreme chemical exposure, and up to 10 years outdoors. Keeping the longer lifespan of thermal transfer output in mind, let's take a look at some common use cases by vertical for thermal transfer printing. In most verticals, items such as product labels or serial number labels which must last for years are good use cases. In healthcare, items exposed to chemicals and liquids and requiring a more secure environment, such as blood bag labeling or patient tracking, are good use cases. In government, evidence tracking that must be tamper-resistant, secure, and long-lasting are also great use cases. When deciding if thermal transfer is the best option, always keep the environment and required lifespan in mind. Feel free to pause this video to review the list. When you're ready, click play to continue. Now, let's take a quick knowledge check. Which of the following statements about direct thermal and thermal transfer printing is false? The answer is C. Labels printed with direct thermal technology typically have a shorter lifespan than labels printed using thermal transfer. Which of these scenarios would be a good fit for direct thermal media? The answer is B. Direct thermal printing is an ideal choice for high-volume printing requirements with a shorter lifespan expectation. A good example of this scenario is for shipping labels that do not need to be used once the item arrives at its destination. Which of these scenarios are commonly used for thermal transfer printing? The answer is A. Labels printed using thermal transfer technology are much more durable than direct thermal labels. Depending on the media selected, thermal transfer labels can withstand abrasions, bad weather, and even chemical exposure. In harsh environments, thermal transfer is the better choice.